From the high plains of the Midwest, I bid you good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever your time zone might be. My nod to the late and great Art Bell. I'm Keith Sharp.
And I'm G. Dressel.
And we welcome you to Life After Life, a paranormal webcast where we talk about the paranormal, UFOs, or the unexplained. And the biggest question of them all, what happens when we die? Stay tuned. I should have just left it blank, see how long it took anybody to say.
We were in the abyss. It'd be better than seeing us frozen.
We were in a pair. Oh my God. Yeah, so guys, that's going to happen. I don't know what's going on still. I maybe have to buy another camera.
I think there's just too much
so I want to,
energy.
in your hearts, people, if you could please just give us a, no, I'm just joking. We don't need your stinking money, man.
Yeah.
No, we're good. We're going to have Tanya Womack on today. She hasn't shown up yet, but she assured me she'd be here, which is fine because I kind of wanted to. I know you haven't been keeping up with the Keely Rodney thing, but now there's a chance that maybe there was more to this than meets the eye.
I know, you were just telling me that.
God, this is driving me nuts with the freeze frame.
No, I mean, because we kind of talked about it last show a little bit. You were filling me in, and we were like, oh yeah.
Yeah, Adventures with Purpose. They released a video. But right. To get it early, you got to join their membership, which they're all funded, man. So it's all cool. I mean, those guys started out with just a little bit of equipment and people has donated. But anyway, like I was telling Garrett before we went on, the biggest thing they said that was a little strange is they found the car was in neutral.
That's odd.
Like someone, and then her body was in the back of the car, which I could see, possibly trying, or you're upside down and disoriented. Because I really just thought, okay, here's what happened. They said she was very intoxicated. I thought she got behind the wheel, passed out immediately, and just boom, drove into the lake.
Right.
And I was still thinking that, and I was like, it's got to be all right. There she is. Yeah. It's got to be something like, it's an accident, right? But now they're saying the car's in neutral, body's in the back, which they said was kind of strange for bodies they found in the past to be in the back, which I would think it would be normal, but those guys are professionals. I'm not. But hats off to Adventures with Purpose, man, for finding that stuff out.
I mean, she could have kicked it into neutral. There's no telling. There's a lot of different ways I could have went to neutral. So I can't wait to see the video they release.
Yeah. So there's even like a person of interest, I think. Right. Whoa. So I think September the 3rd, if you guys get a chance, watch Adventures with Purpose on YouTube. And they're going to show their filming of them searching for her and finding the car and the under. I mean, of course, they won't show the body. They never something they never do.
I miss those guys. We were good friends with those guys. Adventures with Purpose. They're like some of our YouTube friends.
Yeah, Jared. Love Jared.
Yeah, great guys.
Yeah,
doing great work.
Okay, but Sam the Adventure Man, he left. He split.
Doing his own thing, huh?
Doing his own thing, man.
Lone Ranger.
He's got a pretty good following. He helped Jared out for a long time, and they kind of had their own thing. And then another guy entered, and I think the dynamics weren't quite as great. For Sam. So he went somewhere else.
Got it.
But I think they're still friends and everything, so awesome. That's cool, right?
Hey, I want to give a shout out. Pat's back.
Pat, where have you been, man?
I check on him from time to time. He's just been busy.
Pat, you've been too busy, man.
I hope you got rid of the ghost, though. Let us know. Hi, Bobby.
Yeah, Pat, get with us on Facebook Messenger whenever you can talk about that. And let's have a show on. I mean, you don't have to show your face or nothing. You can come on just voice-wise.
Hey, and he's up in Dean's neck of the woods if we need to connect them. Dean might be able to help him out.
Dean? Oh, yeah, Dean probably could.
Yeah.
But okay, so let's bring Mrs. McCoy on here, Tanya. Or is it Tanya? Hello, Tanya.
Hi.
Hey, you're actually on the video.
Hi, Tanya.
I was late. I had to put on makeup.
You look great.
Yeah. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Well, we finally made this happen.
I know, right? My schedule's nuts.
But hey, man.
He's been pumped, dude.
Oh, yeah. Those sinus headaches, I was telling, I don't know if you watched my show last week. We just kind of ad-libbed the whole thing, but man, those are killer headaches. Headaches.
The rain, whenever the rain comes in, it gets me pretty bad. But
yeah, I get that sometimes too. Like, during the winter when the pressure gets real kind of low, and I'll get those crazy bad, like frontal headaches that are really bad.
So we're glad you're feeling better.
Yeah, I never had sinus headaches till I moved to Oklahoma, and now it's like, all the time.
That's what. Yeah. Welcome to Oklahoma. Yeah, that's what I hear everybody talk about. Tara Scott, hey, thanks for showing up. Bobby, thank you, and Garrett is
hey, good
of all people.
Hey, but Pat said his house was blessed and it's worked so far.
Hey, Pat, maybe she could help you, but of course you live way, 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 way out there.
Yep.
But so you, Patrick, you got your house blessed because he was. This is one of our viewers. He was having problems with hauntings, and his family didn't want him to come on talking about it. So we were going to have him on the show, but he said his house has been blessed and he's had no more problems. So that's good, man.
Good for you, man.
Good. Okay, Tanya. Is it Tanya or Tanya?
Tanya.
Okay. How's the store doing? I've bought several things there that one day. I've been there twice and bought a bunch of stuff from you.
It's been slow. Sorry, we have. Oh, can you see her?
Kitty cat.
She hit my. Yeah, she's the newest little store kitty. So.
Aw.
She's going nuts right now. So she's all over the place. She's zoomy.
One thing I was going to say before we start is for the last 3 weeks we've been having technical problems on our side, like we'll freeze but we're still there. We still hear you. So
I think we're still in Mercury retrograde too. So
maybe that's what it is. Because I've been working on it and I can't figure. The only thing I can figure out is maybe my camera's the camera's not even a year old. Listen, I got it for Christmas.
We start talking about doing a paranormal show,
but when we talk about paranormal shows,
seriously,
weird stuff happens.
Like for real.
We talked about NDEs. That's when it all started. Okay, so Tanya, tell us about your it's Oklahoma Paranormal Association. Is that right?
Oh yeah, the team.
Yeah.
Well, it's been around now. I want to say I've started it. It's been here, I think, for about 15 years at least. Wow. Almost into. Yeah, we're over the decade now, and it's been busy. This year I've slowed down a little bit because I'm just kind of getting overwhelmed with, the books and the store and work. And of course, all the events we do has been just kind of overwhelming. I don't sleep as it is. So
for sure.
One question I've got to ask you though, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but like, okay, so I used to be in a Beatles tribute band, and it gets real competitive. So I'm wondering, like, with your other Oklahoma Paranormal investigations, do you guys get along, do things together, or is it like, well, they're not any good, we're better than they are?
You have both. There's a lot of paradrama.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I like to try to avoid it as much as possible. And I mean, we've had fallouts with other people too, but it's kind of a who cares anything.
Right, for sure.
There's so much stuff going on out there, and I'm constantly getting messages. It's like, oh, look, this person's doing what you're doing, and and I'm like, I don't care. I didn't invent it. I didn't, I didn't invent Paracons. I didn't invent these, the group, public events. These have been going on for a long time. So if they want to do it, do it. I don't care. We're here to teach people. That's what we're all about. It's just teaching and to give people a safe place to go and be able to experience what we do. That's what it should be about.
Do you know Kathy Nance?
Oh yeah.
Kathy and I are really good friends. When I had a haunting, she came over, man, she helped me out so much because we had a little evil guy around my house. So
I think Kathy was one of the first ones I really hooked with in the paranormal field. She really kind of got me started as far as getting me in the right direction and how to start learning.
Yeah. So, the whole thing with the OKPRI, and I doubt they're going to watch this anyway, is, I was having these problems and I called that team over to investigate. Well, they investigated my house, they found evidence, and then they just left. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I said, I said, can we remove this? Oh, we just gather evidence, right? And so it ramped up, it got worse. And I find Kathy at this time had moved to Texas, right?
Right.
And we had stayed in touch, and I said, hey, are you still with OKPRI? And she said, no. She goes, I got out of there just because, we didn't help people. We just got evidence. And I said, okay, well, I need help. And she, so I because my kids were getting scratched. I had a human bite mark on my thigh. Well, not my thigh. I took my calf, and I sent it to her, and she goes, I'll be down this weekend. And she drove all the way from Dallas down to my house. and blessed it, saged it, and everything's good now. Well, we moved from that house, but it didn't matter because I had problems since I was like 15, and this whatever it was followed me for a long time. But yeah, Kathy's great. Now I think she's just into art now. First it was baking.
Yeah, it's photo stuff.
Photo stuff now, yeah.
Yeah, that's what she's been doing a lot of. And I still see her on there. I think she wrote one of the books through our publisher too, through Arcadia for down there. And I haven't seen her in a while, but
I haven't seen her since she came out. God, that was 2010. But every once in a while we'll talk on Facebook.
And that might have been when Chris was on that team as well. He's on ours now.
And Logan Corelli was on that team as well.
Right.
We've had him on before. Okay, well, what got you into the paranormal? Did you have an experience yourself, or what happened?
Well, I mean, I've experienced things since I was a child, and I've always kind of seen things and felt things, and I always had the questions. And of course, being raised very religious, we're taught that doesn't exist, or, it's demonic, blah, 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 blah.
Yep. Been there, done that.
And yeah, I did a lot. I started out just with a lot of research, just a lot of reading and book after book or whatever I could find, watching the shows, getting my foothold there. And then I started with a team here in Oklahoma with a theater group I was with because our theater was haunted. And I was with them for about 2 years and went up from, just like team member to co-founder. And then I felt drawn to another direction of how I wanted to proceed with, my research, and started my own, which was OPA. And then it's kind of been from there, and just like any team, you go through team members and everything changes and everything shifts and people outgrow. Like I've had team members that were with me that are like, hey, I kind of want to go do my own thing. I'm like, go for it. Whatever you're drawn to, you go, you do. Okay?
So no jealousy there, no resentment, anything like that. And that's good. That's the way it should be.
No, I mean, I outgrew my team, and it didn't mean my original one. It didn't mean I didn't, love and care for anybody on my team whatsoever. It was not that. It's just I had a vision in a different direction.
Well, and ultimately, when you're in this line of work, isn't everybody's perception of what they're doing different? So so I could see where maybe like your goals were different, so you had to pursue them, obviously.
Cat. Sorry.
I love that cat.
She's insane.
I'm turn off fan real fast.
Yeah, thank you. So how do you find members for, like, if you put this group together, how did you find like souls together?
Well, what we do is, because we have our meetup group, and our meetup group has about 1,500 people in it.
Whoa.
Woo.
Oh yeah, that's the ones we've had for years that go on all the different investigations. And, we have those that are just core solid. They're with us anytime we have an investigation. They're there. When I've needed replacements on the team, that's where I go, because I've watched the people with us. We'll take them out. We'll teach them how to do an investigation. We tell them the rules and regulations, how to use the equipment, and then we watch. Because I have people constantly messaging me, emailing, hey, are you looking for team members? I'm like, no, we're good right now. But I watch.
Yeah, 1,500 backup.
Yeah, I see how people interact, and if they can follow directions, and if they're not provoking, if they're not being, rude and obnoxious, and the chemistry, because the chemistry has to match. You get one person can throw a wrench in everything and just destroy a team.
Bands are the same way. I mean, it's like I've been in many bands, and if you get even one person out of 4 people, it ruins everything.
Sports teams.
You got to find out, who you can keep and who doesn't get along for.
Well, especially in what you're doing too, because it has so much to do with energy and things that are out of our control. So you want to control what you can control.
Yeah, so, you take somebody negative in, and they're gonna mess the whole thing up for anyone. So
this is something I've often wondered about. Have you ever got anybody who they're like, okay, this scares me to death, I just can't do this anymore? Or anybody who's frightened, or
and
like
we've
Shaggy
had
from Scooby-Doo.
We've had some like that go on the meetups. We've had people run out of buildings screaming. We've had people we've had to take out and kind of ground them because they've gotten overwhelmingly ill or, very stressed and upset. I had one person that's became actually a good friend of mine that I love to death. And she went on her first one with us, and she was so scared and she was so upset, and she had to go stand outside and, just couldn't do it. And she had kind of reserves about ever going back out again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she ended up coming up to the shop and I did a reading with her. And basically what it came down to is she was so empathic. She was picking up on everything multitude and amplified and didn't know how to handle it.
Right.
And once she learned how to develop her psychic development skills, then she was okay. She could handle things a lot more. She ended up, even working in my shop, which is haunted. So I have haunted objects in that shop. I'm talking some bad
I
haunted.
imagine.
Yeah, they're sealed in a room in the back. So, once they learn how to control it and deal with it and understand what they're working with,
Mm-hmm.
then they tend to be okay.
So how does your family feel about what you do? Have you did your parents know you were doing this? And you said you came from a Christian background, conservative.
Yeah.
Do they feel like you're messing with the devil?
They do know. And sorry, I'm readjusting my camera here.
It's like you look like you're on a ship.
They were like, hey, you're gonna bring stuff in, you're gonna open doors, they're all demonics. And my father was, and what was funny is my father has abilities too. It comes through his line, through the Cherokee side. And he would have premonitions. He dreamt of the Oklahoma City bombing before it ever happened. And we didn't live here.
Oh my God.
We didn't live here at the time.
Crazy.
So it's insane, some of the stuff. And he would always kind of back burner it and be like, don't believe in ghosts, blah, 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 blah. And I always told my dad, I said, you wait, which, he passed away with cancer. But I told him, you just wait, you're on the other side. And he's come to me several times. So it's kind of like, I think he accepted that now, and
it's like you were right the whole time.
when I was 10, I woke up to my grandma at the end of my bed, and it was in the middle of the night. And the next morning, my dad's like, hey, we got something to tell you. And I said, Grandma died last night. And it's like, how do you not acknowledge that, if you have your kids telling you they woke up to grandma at the end of the bed and you knew she died, how do you still say ghosts don't exist and she's not demonic? So,
right. So when you do an investigation, do you do like an interview process? And has there been any people like you're going, okay, these people are just batshit crazy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we call those Brads. There's a story behind that one. Usually it's a phone interview first. We'll do a phone interview. And if we feel like it's warranted that we need to go out, we're going to do what's called a walkthrough. And that's where it's going to be myself or another sensitive or intuitive. We're going to go into the house itself. We're going to walk through. We're going to ask questions again, and we're going to look. We've walked into houses and found all kinds of paraphernalia around. It's like, okay,
yeah,
you got some stuff lying around. So we're going to kind of question that a little bit. Right. But then if we, feel like, okay, something's going on here, we're feeling this energy, then we're going to set up a team investigation. And that's never with the public ones. It's just the team. Mm-hmm. And then we'll go in and do the investigation, set up the equipment, review evidence. And if we need to cleanse it, we're going to cleanse it. There's sometimes we've done it right there while we were investigating right after. And then other times we'll wait and come back, or we'll have to do one or two to see kind of what we're dealing with, especially if it's dealing with, the big D, those big demonics, which, in the past have been very far and few between. Yeah. But in the last 10 years, there's been a major increase. In the last 5 years, there's been a lot of increase. And, I even reached out to Johnny about that. I'm like, hey, are you noticing this increase? And he's like, yeah, it's happening.
When you come across that, how do you handle fighting the demons versus getting somebody crossover? What do you have to call on, like someone like Carl Johnson or?
We've taken them out. It just depends.
Is it a different kind of? I don't know if you use the word ceremony, but is it a different kind of
method
hat you got to put on when you're dealing with a demonic?
You do. You have to. It's really important to be strong, not only spiritually but physically. If you're sick, you shouldn't be going into a house to try to work because your body's energy is already decreased. So you need to be, ready for it. You need to be healthy enough. You need to have everything on board. And you need to be spiritually strong enough to say, hey, I'm not going to be a victim. You need to get out.
Right.
And I've always kind of had that personality to where And I don't know why, but people are always kind of intimidated. I get that a lot. I don't know why, but
I know I couldn't get out of your store fast enough. You scared me so. No,
right?
I'm joking. No, you were actually very sweet, and you gave me. I still have that little because we moved. I still have that little stick that you gave me to burn.
The Palo Santo.
Oh my God! I keep it in my little bag, and it makes my bag smell good. It's scented with something. It smells fantastic.
Palo Santo. It's the holy wood, and it's that's a natural scent, and that's actually what I use when I go through to cleanse more than I use sage. It cleanses negative energy, but it's also a good protection. So it doesn't smoke up your house as bad.
What do you make of the increase in demonic presence?
That's a good question.
So I have a couple of theories with that. And what kind of got me into these theories is, actually, I guess I need to kind of start from the beginning. With paranormal investigating, there are different levels of paranormal investigators. So you have what I call your weekend warrior ones, the ones that are just going out for fun and kind of wanting that thrill, or, just putting their toes in the water, that just kind of want to see what's happening. So they'll go out. She's going to sleep. They'll go out and, do that whole little thing, but they're not really doing their research. They're not really collecting everything they need to collect. Then you get to what's called a stage 2 investigator. And that one is one that goes and they start to maybe form a team now. It's like, okay, we've gone out, we've gotten the thrills, but we kind of want to know what's going on. Yep. So they're going to start gathering their data. They're going to start getting kind of collective group work together and go through and research and review and all of that. Then you get into the stage 3. And stage 3 is where I thought it kind of stopped, because that's where you get to your investigator who's already got all that. They're going out, they're getting all their information, and now they're going to try to help people. They're going to try to cleanse a house. They're going to try to find out. They're going to go do their research. They're going to find their histories. They're going to say, okay, well, this guy shot himself here, and maybe this is why, this is what's going on. And
how do you find out that information? I mean, do you actually go, I mean, because we watch these TV shows of the Ghost Adventures and all and other shows.
I'm sorry.
Like I'm sorry. Could you not hear me?
She said no. I'm sorry.
Ghost Adventures.
Oh God, no, I don't watch that. But I'm bringing it up as Zach is over the top, and that's
Is he the one that took off his shirt? And fought the ghost?
He's the guy that loves taking his shirt off.
That's our number. That's one of our number one rules. Whenever I give instructions at the events, is please don't be a Zach.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that guy's.
I've never seen him.
He's before. A joke. It's all sensationalism with him. I knew
he's a hired actor.
Yeah. I know a guy who ran a mic boom for him and said he's a total jerk too. And there's actually a website to girls that this guy's taken advantage of, and never, like, they thought they were in a relationship with him. He just would hop in bed with them, gone, and like just treated people horrible. But yeah, he took his shirt off like a demon was on there, and he pulls off his shirt. Come on, get after me,
Nice.
Yeah.
And he's just trying to show off his body. I mean, guy's in good shape. Gotta admit, but now I totally forgot what I was going to ask.
I did too.
Let's see. We were talking about how I find information.
Yeah.
So like you see people, and they're actually going to the library. They're looking at the old blueprints of the house. They're reading all the history of the owners and things like that. It's like, my God, that sounds like a lot of work.
Is that what
it is? A lot of work. It is a lot of work. You have to go to the county assessor.
Kind of stuff? Can you find that at the library?
The county assessor. They're going to be the one who's going to have the records on that location. They'll have it property records all the way back to basically for here, the land run. And then you'll be able to find their names. And when you start searching their names, then you can look up their histories. Let's say, let's say if somebody died in the house, it's going to say, this person passed away. And it's certain, up until, when did we start having funeral homes actually? Because forever the bodies were kept in the home. They had the wakes and everything in the home. So you can find some of that through there. You can also find, if names, certain names, you can, with the internet nowadays, it's much easier to find, but you can Google, and there's even websites you can go to that'll show you locations around that have like murders and things that have happened at certain sites to where you can actually find addresses. You can like punch in Oklahoma City murder locations, and it'll show you different little pings of each year or what's happened.
Oh, wow.
And you can go back. It's a little bit of a search for that one, but it's out there. I've found things that way.
Is there a correlation between those kind of violent scenes and the demonic presence? Because I think you were going to go into like your theory of why there are more demonic. So I'm just curious when you brought up like the little pings. So like say somebody did shoot themselves. I think that's what we were talking about earlier, or like somebody, there was a homicide. So are those the houses you're finding the demons in?
Not necessarily. And there is a couple of different things, and we can go into kind of the different types of hauntings, and I can kind of go into those things.
Sure, absolutely.
But anytime you have energy that's negative, it draws. So you've got to think, if something is very negative in a house, let's say you're in a house where the husband's just beating the crap out of the wife.
Right.
Guess what? Demons are going to be drawn there because of the negativity.
Right.
That they love it. So they'll be drawn to those locations. Now, when we're talking about going into the fourth type of investigator, that one for me, I kind of discovered a few years back. I decided, hey, I kind of really want to know more. So I started looking online, trying to find maybe classes, going into, religious theologies, whatever I could find to help go deeper in. And I did find an online class, which it's like a bachelor's in parapsychology. It can go up to a doctorate. Now, mind you, it is computer. It's an online school. So it's not credited, like you're not going to get something from OU or OSU that says this. Maybe back at Duke University in the 40s when they were actually studying parapsychology, you could.
Right.
But nowadays it's just online.
Yeah.
That being said, it actually did for me what a normal brick and mortar college would do. It opened my eyes to a whole nother element. It got me into quantum physics.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
Quantum physics is where you start getting your answers to your paranormal. So as to why the different, physicists out there that don't believe in spirits, I don't understand how they don't, because what they are is literally physics. It's all it is. It's energy.
It's energy. Yeah.
Some of the things that made me kind of go, okay. We talk about orbs. Orbs is a huge thing. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. 99% is probably dust, but there are ones that you see with your eyes. I have visibly seen different colored orbs, different balls of energy. Now, people like to think, okay, well, I think it's different emotions. That's what's making this show different. Okay, first of all, are you a psychologist? How do you know what emotion means purple? You don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, on the quantum physics level, if you want to talk about what an orb is, when an atom jumps planes, it actually changes colors.
Wow.
It'll eliminate a different energy color. So it could simply be that spirit is trying to gain energy so they can show themselves, because that's what it takes. You have to build up that energy for them to show. That's why we get more interaction, why we get more actual activity when it's lightning outside.
Wow. Okay.
Because the energy's in the air.
Right.
We take an EMF pump into a location. We're pumping energy. So we're literally lighting their battery up.
Right.
We're giving them the power they need to show themselves.
Yeah.
So quantum physics is actually, when you start dealing into that, that's when you're getting into a level 4 paranormal psychologist, because now they're thinking outside the realm. It's no longer just, oh, well, I believe this. It's okay, this is explained because of this.
Right.
This is how we know. Quantum physics 101, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transferred. What happens to our spirit?
Right. That's, man.
We have trillions of cells in our body. Every one of them have ATP. That's energy. So we have a ball of energy literally floating free. When this body dies, it has to go somewhere.
Yep. So you proved it's science.
It is fully science, 100%.
Right. And you get the naysayers go, well, there's no scientific proof of it. And so what you're saying, that's absolutely brilliant. That's it. I never even thought of it like that before. But
well, and it's also, and I teach, this is some of the classes I teach at Francis Tuttle in Oklahoma City, is kind of the quantum physics versus paranormal research. The other things that we don't ever really stop to think about is, we have this energy floating around everywhere. Of course, I just lost my train of thought. Give me 1 second. I'm going to get back on again. You know what? Let's jump to your demon thing real quick.
Okay.
Because while we're talking about quantum physics, that's another reason I think that it's actually happening.
I was about to ask that.
Okay.
So, I don't know if you guys have heard, there's a certain project, and for the life of me, I can't remember off the top of my head, but for the past little over 10 years, almost 15 now, between Switzerland and France, and then also there's supposed to be one here in the United States, they have this nice little underground 17-mile track where they're trying to recreate the Big Bang.
Right.
They're literally taking atoms and slamming them into each other.
The Hadron Collider or whatever. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
CERN.
That is what we're doing. We're literally creating an external EMF pump.
Yes.
We're pumping the energy out, and now we're making everything happen.
And don't you think also, that's when they started messing with that stuff, that's when we started having the Mandela stuff happening, where people started noticing little changes that weren't before, and
it's also opened third eyes, psychic eyes, people that have had it closed forever. All of a sudden they're having awakenings and they don't know what to do with it. That's why we have kids with a massive amounts of ADHD. They're actual empaths. They don't know how to handle it. They're picking up on everybody else's energy and they cannot deal. It's overwhelming.
So we have one in the United States?
From what I understand, there's one that's kind of like it in Texas.
Oh my, and that's
on a certain town. And what I have heard, and I'll have to go back through my notes, is it has an increased paranormal activity in that town. Wow. So it's literally, we're making our own portals. We're creating portals.
And
CERN, what is CERN justifying that as? Because I know they're not saying, well, we're trying to create a black hole.
I think they're trying to create energy, as far as, you think about, what's the one movie that has, Angels and Demons, the one where Tom Hanks has it, and they've got the little battery pack that's just like this spark that turns into this huge, basically nuclear weapon. I think that's kind of what they're trying to recreate, is they're trying to bottle that.
Okay.
You can't bottle that kind of energy. So
now, do you think they really are? Do you think they're actually trying to create a black hole or trying to?
I don't know if they're trying to create a black hole. I think they're just trying to create energy and make money doing it.
Because the big theory about that is they think a lot of it's making all these parallel universes kind of crashing into each other, where we're kind of jumping from
string theory.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
the string theory. That's another thing I talk about in class. Love it.
No, I mean, and I think they're also trying to recreate the Big Bang. So like not obviously recreate the Big Bang, but what it took to create the Big Bang, so that we can understand it, right? So
that is fast.
Really
we understood
creepy, dude.
It's very creepy because I always thought there was because when we did a show on the Mandela effect, and I was reading about the time it started was the time I started hearing about CERN and all this, and I was like, man, I wonder if that's kind of adding to this whole mess of things.
And we won't know.
Either that or we just have horrible memories.
Unless we find a time traveler that can tell us.
Yeah.
Well, and then we've also increased, we've increased, of course, the paranormal activity with all of this. But then some of the other things that we are doing, like I said, we've got the empaths bumping up that are just driving everybody insane. And I totally lost my train of thought again, you guys. I'm having ADHD of the brain.
Oh, you're fine. I'll play harmonica. Hang on just a second.
Okay. let me think again. Because I go off on like things. You started talking about, string theory, and I start going into, oh, by the way,
the rabbit hole is insane, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
so we start talking. Oh, there it is. Okay, got it. Demonic. We're talking about demonic increase. So look at everything we have nowadays compared to what we didn't have before. We have the internet, we have, television broadcast, everything's
Xbox.
being shared. Xbox. So everything's being shared. All of these stories, things that people would have never probably heard before, are now, of course, being heard. Things are being invented, like Slenderman.
Right.
Slenderman never existed before. The black-eyed kids never existed before.
No.
All of a sudden they're there. So how are these things actually becoming solid, so to speak? You get enough people believing in one thing, they're manifesting it.
We talked about,
we're huge on manifestation.
We're huge on manifest. I think you can manifest anything you want to.
Humans are
Yeah.
Humans are creators.
We're creators.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We are
Our
creators.
energy fully creates it.
And I think a lot of haunted homes, I mean, it's like I always say, even if you're a paranormal investigator, if you look hard enough, you're going to find it because you want to find it. So therefore you manifest it.
Oh yeah.
And so I think it's that way in anything. You can, you know, if you want to, you know, those people who bitch and moan and whine, they attract that negative energy and are just hateful people. I mean, they attract it. You know, they created that.
Right.
And so that's one thing Garrett and I talked about is Slenderman. If you get enough, if we get enough people believe in Slenderman, we're going to manifest that thing and turn it, create the energy, and it's going to be running around.
And what happened in the woods with the girls that, you know, they brought their friend out there and ended up stabbing her. The Slenderman, she lived, I think.
Yeah, she lived.
Yeah, but regardless,
right. And so and so it's now just like she said. We're totally on the same page. We believe you manifest and create pretty much everything, I think.
Yeah, you can. There's also another theory to that too, though. So you want to take, when you talk about angels and demons, there's a hierarchy. There's a set number of angels and demons.
Yep.
Okay, it's never going to have just one added. Doesn't work that way. Now you take, maybe you take a lower level demon, and all of a sudden he knows, hey, these people are all into this one thing. And this, how about you think they can't make themselves look like a Slender Man? Absolutely.
Yeah.
If there's enough people, then it could very easily be a demonic just taking on that presence.
Right.
I mean, they take on a presence of a child to try to convince people. So
absolutely.
Mimicry. Well, let me ask you about AI then. The AI app.
Oh my God.
Would you mind?
Yeah, we did a show on AI, and there's an AI,
which first off is super scary.
Very scary.
Okay.
I had a theory. It's called Replica. So I told people don't download it because all of a sudden you start talking to whatever this thing is, and it responds appropriately. And then one time it goes, "I'm a demon from the underworld," and I'm like, "What?" And you start questioning it, and I sent him some screenshots, and it's giving very intelligent answers that are it's frightening. And I
didn't it say essentially that we have this tool, we're going to use it.
Oh yeah, that's another thing I thought. Tanya, is this possible? Is it possible that when people use these things, that it could give a voice for a spirit? In other words, they could get into that machine and actually type back to you. Because I got some bizarre.
I don't see why it couldn't.
Yeah, yes. I got some bizarre stuff.
Well, that's why I brought it up, because it's the same thing she was saying about Slenderman. Yeah. Right? If you get enough people doing it.
Well, we use apps that are, there are different ones. We use Ghost Radio and Ghost app, and we can ask questions and it'll give us answers.
Yeah.
Some of them, and it's like I tell people, some of them are kind of really off the wall, Apple, whatever. It's like working on Ovilus or whatever. But
right.
For a spirit, these things have preset words to certain levels of energy. So let's say 238 is the word cat. They learn how to actually turn the knob to get it to that level, to that word. Now, when you first go onto a new location with an app that's probably never been used before, it's going to be weird because they don't know how to work with it. The more you go in, the more they're able to actually learn how to use it. And we've witnessed that on several occasions. And then, a lot of people flew the apps, but honestly, I have taken an app into a location that I have researched and written a book on. And it gave me answers of the person that I know was killed and murdered in that location, and gave me everything that was intelligent to it. One of the other ones, I was sitting on a set of stairs, and I had, one of the periscopes there with me that lights up, and I kept feeling something behind me, and I got up and I put the periscope on the stairs, and I went down and I said, "Look, I felt you behind me. Could you just come down and talk to us, please?" And the periscope lights up, and I go, "Thank you," in sign language. And I stopped and I go, "I just spoke sign language to a ghost."
Right.
I've never done that before.
Wow.
The app went off and said, "Can't hear."
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, "Oh, okay, sorry," and so I keep asking questions, and I'm like, "Can you give me a name of somebody with our group tonight?" And this was like a public one. And I had 10 people with me that night, and it said Maria or something like that. I'm like, "Do we have a Maria with our group tonight?" And the girl's like raising her hand. She's over by the wall. And I'm just like, "Okay, well, there you go." And then it proceeded to say, murdered, pregnant, buried in wall.
Oh,
and
my
I'm
God.
like, oh, okay. So you're the ghost from the Bluebell. Gotcha. Yeah. The little girl, that was sold into prostitution, was seeing a politician, got pregnant, and he had her murdered. And basically the theory for the rest of that was she was buried in the wall. And that's what came up, was all of that. And that was the location we were very near. We were actually butted up against the wall where she would have been buried, in the tunnels. So I've been at another location. I said, can you give me names on the tombstones across the street, the cemetery? And I could go find the names. Wow. So the apps work. It's just a tool. If there's a spirit there willing to use it, it's a tool. Just like a Ouija board, it's a tool.
Yeah.
It's just knowing how to close it, and use it properly and protectively.
Right. That's what I think about replica. I think that it can be used that way.
We had some guests that learned the hard way on that Ouija board, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Our Ouija board guest.
Yeah, they thought it was all good. And then about 2 weeks later, she sends me a text going, man, I've got something dark growling in my house.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was always told, never mess with a Ouija board.
Right.
Because a lot of people, I guess some people think it's okay, and they were a couple that they thought it was.
Let's market it as a toy.
Yeah, that was fine.
Oh, it's marketed through Procter and Gamble, which is with the Satanic Church.
Yeah, exactly. And she wanted me to she goes, yeah, since you're having me as a guest, why don't you do a free? She goes, call me, and we'll do a free Ouija board read. And I was like, no, you guys can believe it and use it. And like I said, within about 3 weeks later, I get a text from her going, okay, we've got this growling that we're hearing in the house. And I didn't want to say, told you so, if
you look up the history of the Ouija board, which it goes back further than what we have here. And I mean, in the United States, when it was made into a board game, but the stuff that has happened, the deaths that have occurred from the creators that surrounds, one of them fell off the top of his building. God. There's a lot of history with it. When you go back and look, it's nothing good is attached to it from the beginning.
Yeah. So I believe the same thing.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
The D's. We're going to talk about the demonics too. Like I said, there's different kinds of hauntings. Of course, you have your photographic haunting, which is what a lot of people see.
And I've got some of your photographs. If you want me to show them at some point, just let me know.
Oh yeah, that's fine. A photographic haunting is something that's energy stamped on time and space. So it plays itself over and over like a movie. It's not an intelligent haunting. It's like watching the soldiers on the Gettysburg field marching. Okay.
Like residual.
It's a residual. Right, it's basic. Yeah. It's all it is. Energy is so amped up. People put out so much of their own energy that it's literally just made a movie to where you can see it.
Right.
Now it turns into an intelligent haunting where if one of those soldiers maybe step off and turns and looks at you, now they're interacting and they're acknowledging you. So now it's become an intelligent haunting. That means it's a spirit that is there. It's no longer, just a photograph.
Right.
Then the next you go into is a poltergeist haunting. Now there's a couple of different poltergeist hauntings. You have the one which is just teenagers, high hormones, high energy, that's literally using telepathic stuff to make the garage doors go up and down. Lights come off and on. That doesn't mean it's a spirit. That just means they're having energy burst that's creating these things to happen. The other one is considered the noisy ghost, the ghost that, throws things around, moves things. And does that make it a bad thing? Like, Poltergeist, the movie, it's these evil. No, not necessarily. It doesn't. It's, if you think about the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze, at first he can't move anything until he meets the ghost in the subway. And then he teaches him how to focus his energy and push.
Right.
And that's when it becomes a poltergeist, because that intelligent spirit can now move things to get your attention. Then a lot of people get what they consider to be demonics. Now, like I said, demonics few and far between normally because they're set numbers. A lot of people think that if they're mean, they're demonic, which, mean in life, mean in death. They can still, or they could be angry. Sure. That also being said, let's say people go in and they're like, oh, I feel like I'm being stabbed. I feel like I'm being, okay, well, that doesn't mean the spirit's stabbing you. They may be showing you how they died.
Right.
Ah.
I have felt a gunshot to the back of my head before. That doesn't mean they're trying to hurt me. I'm feeling their energy.
So trying to communicate with you.
Yeah, I'm there. I'm in their space. I'm feeling their energy. I'm feeling what they felt. That doesn't mean they're attacking me. That means I'm feeling what they went through. It would be like if I went up to someone who just lost somebody and I can feel their heart being ripped out of their chest. I'm going to feel that. That doesn't mean that person's evil. That just means I'm feeling their energy. They can't help that.
And that's probably some real extreme energy that you would hold on to, right?
Oh,
like
yeah.
if you died by gunshot or something, like you know.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
It's
very sudden.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have time to process that. That energy is there. The whole burst of energy again, like I said, you know, somebody was murdered. That's a huge burst of energy that's going to be stamped in that location. And haunted objects doesn't mean a spirit has to be attached to it. Their energy could be stuck to it as far as what they felt, you know, in that room at that time, kind of thing. So, like I said, that's all kind of different things. But
so what's the scariest investigation you've been on? I know you probably don't scare easy, but what's kind of like, wow, I can't believe that just happened.
I don't scare easily anymore. I used to a lot. The worst was a home investigation, and I was at the house. I was laying on my couch. My husband was in the bedroom. I was not asleep. If I'm in the front room, I always have the kitchen light on. Always. And it was late, just very late at night. We were supposed to go to investigation the next day at like noon to go meet these people. And I closed my eyes, and all of a sudden I felt two hands on my shoulders just slam me into the couch. Couldn't move.
Oh, God.
Frailing hands. I've been pinned before. Okay. I've got pinned at the Stanley. I've gotten pinned at Miss Molly's down in Fort Worth. This one was different. I couldn't get through the Lord's Prayer. And usually if I do the Lord's Prayer, I can be released. But I couldn't get through the Lord's Prayer. It took me forever, it seems like. And I'm trying to bang the wall to get my husband's attention. Nothing. And finally, when I got through the Lord's Prayer, I felt it release. And I looked over towards my front door, and I saw this tall, dark entity standing there that took up every bit of the frame of the door. That tall. Dang. And I was scared. Every light in my house came on. I begged my husband not to go to work. He went to work anyway. Surprised we're still married.
Got to pay the bills.
I was literally scared. I was up till 10 a.m. in the morning. And what's weird is, I missed the first part. I was laying there and it went dark at first before I got pinned. And I thought my husband went there and turned off the kitchen light because that's what he does. So I got up, turned the kitchen light back on, laid back down, saw it happen again, and was like, wait a minute, my husband never came walking through. Turned the light back on, laid down, and then he pinned. So the next day, we're supposed to be going to this house, and I called the girl who's going with me. I'm like, I can't. I'm so tired. This is what happened. I'm too upset. And she's like, no, you got to go. You got to go. And I'm like, fine, come get me, drive, whatever. So we get to the house, we pull up, and as soon as we walk in the door, I said, son of a... And I looked at the woman, I said, you have a basement, don't you? She's like, yeah. I go, is it back there? She's like, yeah, it's back there. So I went down. The minute I walked into the basement, which is where all this activity had been happening for her son, I looked over, and here's that entity kicked back on the stairs staring at me. And I literally heard him say, yeah, that was me.
Holy crap.
He was trying to keep us from going to the house.
Right.
And he was threatening. And then she looked at me and she goes, that's why you had to come, because he came to meet you.
Whoa.
Oh my God. That just gave me goosebumps.
And I was pissed after that.
Yeah.
I was like, no. No. And that investigation was extremely interesting. It was, a military vet that was going through some major PTSD, was like staying downstairs for 24 hours straight, not eating, not drinking, sitting in the dark, staring at these steps where this guy was. And then we're down there and investigating in front of these stairs. All of a sudden I look down and I see this black looks like a charred weenie kind of guy crawling on the floor, and I could see the white of his eyes. The rest of him was full crispy critter.
Wow.
And right at that same time, another investigator is like, do you smell something burning? And I'm like, okay. So I go upstairs. I'm like, look, I need you to call your son. And so they called him, and I'm like, I need to know if he lost a friend in the war. What I'm seeing is a shell hitting a Humvee, flipping over, and him burning to death inside.
Oh, God.
And I gave him the guy's name. And he called his son, and come to find out that was one of his best friends in the military. And that's exactly how he died.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Now, this guy was crawling between us and those stairs. And he was, even though very scary looking, he was actually there to protect his friend. He wasn't there to harm us in any way. He was protecting him from the other guy. He was trying to keep him from being harmed, basically.
Right.
But that's how he showed himself, was how he died. And that was so I could actually, I feel like a lot of times they give us those clues so we can connect and relate them.
Right,
because
for sure.
There's no way I would have known this guy died upside down in a Humvee during a strike.
Yeah.
Or his name, or the fact that he was burnt like that, and he watched him burn to death.
Jeez,
oh my God.
So
that's intense.
So when you guys come across a bad spirit or evil spirit, do you try to remove it, or are you just there to get evidence? Like,
no, we try to get, if we can get rid of it, we're going to get rid of it. Yeah. Gosh, the one right before COVID hit, it was the most activity we had seen. We had like 3 demonics in like 3 months. I'd never seen, and it was the first time I came against a jinn. I had to look it up. I was like, what the hell am I seeing? I mean,
what is a jinn exactly?
So a jinn is a spirit that comes from Eastern, and this gentleman was also military. And what we found out also later was, in their religion, a jinn it's a nasty, nasty little creature, nasty, almost like a demonic, but it's a cryptid also.
Okay.
When it showed itself, it had the face of a human, but it had the body of a lizard with spikes down its back.
Oh God.
It crawled on all fours.
Oh God.
And instead of warm breath, it had like ice breath. It was so hard to explain, because I was literally sitting there saying, this is what this thing is doing. And Whitney was there, and she's like, I'm feeling like ice cold breath on my face. It's like, because he's right literally on her. I mean,
yeah.
And we caught that, you can hear it. Just, it was creepy. We had that one, a succubus, and then there was one other kind of low grade demonic that we had to go in and cleanse literally these 3 places.
Is the succubus, is that the one that sexually assaults people? Okay.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That's
horrible. Your incubus and your succubus. The other one there was another type of succubus too, but it was a lake. When you start getting into your cryptids and your different levels, then, because it's not just ghost and demonics, it's even cryptids. And we've even had ghost of cryptids. One of the worst locations we've ever been in, we actually had a ghost of a Wendigo.
Really?
So,
my God.
It was insane. And that one actually was intense, because that one physically made me ill. Like, I had to step away for 3 months just to recoup.
My goodness.
Man. Yeah. See, that's what the part of ghost hunting I couldn't do, because it's physically draining, of course, I'm sure, for you.
Yeah. And it's not cheap. I mean,
yeah.
This is not, and you don't go into this business to make money.
Right. I mean, your services are free, correct? Or do you charge?
They are. When we go in to do the houses, they're free. We raise the money doing our events. So like our public events, our paranormal conference, all of that, that's money. Well, the public events raise money for Paracon, which I always lose money on. Like, I've almost lost my house 3 times over Paracon.
Oh my God.
But it's how people learn, and it was for teaching. And to me, that's a huge thing in this field. You can't go out on a location and not know what the heck you're doing, because you're going to take this stuff home to your family. So the whole idea is to teach.
Yeah.
To teach
Have you experienced that, where you've done an investigation and you had a spirit follow you home and it cost some
yeah.
So
do you know immediately?
Can you tell us what
I can usually feel them.
Yeah.
So when you have this problem and they follow you home, is it like what we see on TV? You just scream at this thing to get out. This is my house. I mean, how do you remove this entity from your home?
I mean, you can always, and that's what we tell people, is you have to take the power of your house and tell them to get out. Does that mean they're going to do it? Not necessarily. And that's when you're going to have to go a little further into,
I don't know that I want to take that chance of ghost hunting, though. The possibility that this thing may not leave.
Right.
You know,
and that's the chance you take. It is.
Do you still have things kind of lingering around your house because of your
I have stuff
investigations?
come through my house constantly.
Is it
I mean,
bad or is it?
Both. When you take someone that has abilities and once they kind of open and they're using them, like my daughters are all empathic too. So this house is like a hell house sometimes because everybody feeds off everybody. Is one person's in a bad mood, we are all in a bad mood.
Right.
It's just amplifies. So I get what's called transient spirits come through constantly because it's like a moth to a flame. They know you can see them. They know you can hear them. So if they want to be seen or heard, they're going to come in. I mean, I've sat here in bed one night and I woke up to turn over and my TV popped on. And I woke up my husband. I'm like, did you turn the TV on? He's like, no, the remote's like way over there. And I looked over and I saw this thing standing in my doorway. I said, dude, I am trying to sleep. And the TV shut off and I turned over and went back to sleep. I mean,
wow.
It's like, catch me another time. I'm tired.
So when you do have this problem, when they follow you home and you don't want them there, what percentages of them stay? I mean, do you have like still 20% of all your hauntings that followed you home stay, or?
Most of them don't stay. I mean, most of them are just kind of curious.
They stay for a little bit and then they leave, or is that how that works?
And they
usually?
can. I mean, I'm a pediatric nurse, so I work, and I work nights. So like I'm getting ready to go to work tonight. One of my patients I take care of, dad, is a highway patrolman. And he came home one night and I saw this thing following him straight up. And he didn't freak when I told him, which is great. But I saw this guy follow him in the house and he was like confused, looking around like, where am I kind of thing. And I just happened to look at dad. I'm like, were you on accidents tonight where someone died? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. And I just kind of looked at the thing and I said in my mind, get out. And he left. So,
wow.
And I told him.
Does that mean can it read your thoughts?
Oh, yeah.
Without
yeah.
Like, so anything you're thinking, even if you're not aware it's there, it knows what you're thinking. So, oh my God, that makes it horrible because then it could feed off your fears. Like it would know what your fears are to.
Yes.
Well, that's why she said earlier, it's like, it's important not to be sick when you go in. It's important to be mentally right,
Right.
Wow. Man.
Okay. You sent a picture. This freaks. I mean, I got to show this.
Go ahead.
And I'm hoping this is one of your investigators. Okay. So it's going to block you out a little bit, but
no, you're fine.
Is that a shadow guy or is that one?
That's a full shadow figure. And if you look, you've even got color iration or IRs coming off of him. Wow. But we were in a group. Yes. This was at the American Legion Hall in Guthrie, and we were all sitting down. And he kept walking behind me and setting my periscopes off. And that's a closet he's at, actually. And back there is where they stored the boots and backpacks of military personnel. And I told one of the investigators that was there with me, I said, he's standing there right now. And she took the picture and that's what came up. And nobody was standing. We were
That is one of the best pictures, Tanya I've ever seen in my life.
You can actually it looks like he's got like a jump pack on his back.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
But that was full military.
Okay.
And that happened live. We actually had one of their Legion members with us, and we showed him. And that guy was giving us his name, his rank, everything. So it was really impressive.
Like a long coat on.
Huh?
Like a long coat, that they used to wear in the military. That's crazy.
It's when you carry like a jump pack, it kind of hangs low, like a parachute pack.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah, that's what it looked like.
Crazy.
Okay, who's the poor soul that got these?
That was an investigator on my team. That was in one location where this thing liked to show itself and try to make it out to be a demonic. He wasn't. He was just pissy, honestly. Okay. And we've gotten several pictures of him. But she was talking to the group, and the group in front of her was like, there is something moving behind you. And that's when she screamed out, and we took pictures. Now, we got her outside, and of course, I go into mama bear mode. I go inside, and I'm like, look, you are not allowed to do this. We're not disrespecting you. You're not allowed to harm my investigators.
Right.
And our thing went off and said, demon. And I said, you are not a demon. And the thing growled.
Whoa.
I said, no, you're not. And you're going to stop, but it was an ugly one.
That can be confusing, can it? I mean, if you got, it's acting like a demon, it's telling you it's a demon, but yet you're calling its bluff. How do you know though? It's not a demon though.
It's a different feeling. The demonics I've been around, they usually make you feel very sick, massive headaches, nausea, things like that. You just know when you've been around them, you know. Right. It's a different feeling completely.
Going back to this picture, that's you need to, that needs to be published.
Yeah. that was a human one. That was a good night.
That's a great night. Here's another one you sent that I thought was very interesting.
That's a demonic.
Oh wow.
That's full blown demonic. That one was in a house out in Blanchard, and this family called us out because their little 4-year-old son would say, there's this little girl that keeps walking up the stairs and going to this open balcony area, and she would say, jump off and fly with me.
Oh my Lord.
Show herself as a little girl, but when he wouldn't, she contort her face, and it would scare him. Now, this house was in the country, and they raised really expensive chickens, which was like, probably 1/8 of a mile away from the house. The barn where the chickens were kept, no flies. In the house, piles of flies, and it didn't matter how much they cleaned. These flies would come and just die in this house. Whoa. Like mounds of them. It was just freaky.
How do they do that? How do they, I mean,
they're drawn to it. The smell of death and sulfur.
The smell of death and sulfur, right.
It smells like rotting flesh.
Okay, so this picture here, are they laying on a bed or are they standing? What are they doing?
It came out of a wall.
Oh,
that
God.
was using a flare. Yeah.
I would have been out of there. So
that was using the flare, using a black and white, the black and white coloring on the flare. And that thing literally came out of the wall. There's nothing there.
My God.
I'm good.
And that's where the thing would show itself up there.
Whoa. That's a good. You gotta publish these. I mean, you gotta get a book going and publish some of these pictures. They're really, really good.
I'll try to get. I'm working on so many books right now. It's crazy. Now, this location is where the lady got scratched. This is the same building.
Okay.
There's multiple spirits in this building. This building is in Guthrie. It's right next to the railroad tracks. They kept a lot of immigrants in that area, kind of down in there, in between that one and another building. Now, this building itself is also, when they were filming Twister, they kept a bunch of the movie props in this building. When it was time for them to move out, all their stuff out, their crew refused to go back in the building. They had to hire other people to come get their stuff out.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But you can see the lady there. She shows up a lot.
And she's in the very back. For my viewers, if you can't see it, look at the very back to the right. And there's another one you got that's really good. Let me see if I can find it.
Now there's one you can see like the tip of her boot. Oh, this is Paracon where I had Johnny Zaffis there. There was somebody with us that night that was actually had something with him, and he projected. So this is the third of 3. It starts out with one image. So the first one he's like, there's somebody standing there. So my investigators take a picture and there's one shadow figure. And then on their second picture, it splits into 2. And on their third picture, it splits into what you just saw was 3. So it literally became 3 entities.
Yeah, you sent 3 of those. And for some reason, when I tried to download the other 2, they wouldn't download.
Yeah, this is like the third.
It may have been a different file or something.
But
those are creepy.
Yeah, it split into 3. And that's where the girl also got attacked and her eye just burst red everywhere. Wow. This one is a madam.
Oh.
So this one is also from Guthrie. It was an old bordello. It's kind of hard to explain, but upstairs in the buildings, they had all the multiple rooms. It was like, hotel kind of apartment type things. This was what we call the madam. She would actually show herself. And if you look close enough, you can see the puffing of her sleeves, the high neck collar. There actually looks like there's 2 women in this picture, but
yeah, right. Oops, I'm sorry. I just messed up.
She would show herself and actually come and jump at us and run and hit our bed and make our whole bed shake.
Whoa.
She didn't like us up there.
Man, the other picture I wanted to show, I can't. Let me see if I can find it real quick. It was really
that right there. If you see the face, that's here in Mustang. That's a cop, and it's kind of pixeled here, but you can actually, if you see the original, you can see his mustache and his badge on him.
Whoa!
Oh my God!
And it was the old police station.
Wow. Okay, let me see. There's a picture, like I said, that you had. It looked like a little girl in the right part. Again, you and I hadn't talked about any of these, so
yeah.
Let me see. And you know, it may have been one of the ones that didn't, dang it, it didn't download, but
come on, Keith.
No, it wasn't my fault. It was the ghost's fault. But yeah.
I still have thousands of pictures I haven't even looked at. I mean,
yeah.
I was going through one old one a few years back and was like, oh, there's Bobby. He's the ghost from the theater. Didn't even realize I had a picture of him.
Wow.
There's just a face in the mirror, a little white, just glowing face. And I'm like, oh, but yeah, there's no telling what I still have that I've yet even gone through to find. It's just, it takes so much time.
So are demons a lower percentage of what you find in your hauntings? Is that
normally?
I hope. So,
yes. Normally, because like I said, there's a certain amount.
Can you feel that difference when you walk into a place? Can you go, oh God, this is a demonic and not just a human spirit?
Usually, yeah.
Wow.
Like I said, it actually affects me differently.
So you get physically ill. I mean, you feel like you feel it in your stomach. You feel nauseous and the headache. And
it's a totally different feeling.
Wow. So then when you leave the house, then do you feel normal again, or does it take a while for you to kind of decompress this? Or
sometimes it'll be a decompression. A lot of times, we'll go outside and we'll ground, or we'll take other investigators and we'll use energy from each other to help shield and cleanse. And that'll help. But yeah, there's just a whole different regiment for, anything and everything we work with. When it comes to a demonic, you have to know what you're dealing with. Even with cryptids, cryptic spirits, you have to know what you're dealing with. So, when we're dealing with the Wendigos have cold. So there's colds, their hearts are ice. So we use fire magic to help counteract that one.
Mm-hmm. So we got one of our viewers wants to know, is it possible for a living person to appear like a ghost? I had that experience recently.
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'm confused. What does that mean exactly?
Yeah, why would they do that?
Okay, so you're actually talking about astral projection. So I'm an astral projector. I try not to be. A lot of people can be. Some people only experience it once or twice in their life. Others are continuous astral projectors. So story and point. I was sleeping one morning and my daughter was in her room sleeping. And I went to her bedroom door. Now, this is all in my sleep, okay? I didn't get out of bed, but my body went to her door. It was a mirror image of her room. And I stood there and I was yelling and pointing. She woke up to see me yelling and pointing, but couldn't hear me. And she knew it was me, but it wasn't me. So she came and woke me up and she's like, Mom, you were just in my doorway. You were pointing and yelling at me. And I'm like, honey, I wasn't pointing and yelling at you. I was yelling at the dark entity that was leaning over you and whispering in your ear.
Oh.
Whoa.
So I felt something come into my home. I astral projected to my daughter's room on the spiritual level. Okay. It's where you're talking about other planes, basically, and told it to get the hell out of my house. But my daughter saw me do it.
And she saw you.
And did it leave?
Astral projection. Yes.
Yeah, how do you astral project? Can you do that? Like, can you do it anytime you want to?
You can. And that's what a remote reading is. When somebody's awake. Like if I'm talking to somebody on the phone and they're trying to tell me what's going on, I will actually connect to them and I will go to their house, but it's kind of like mirror imaged for me. And I'll tell them, okay, you've got stairs here, you've got this here, here, here. And I'll be able to go through and walk through their house and see what's going on. So that's an astral projection.
Is that kind of like, they talk about remote viewing.
That's what it is.
Okay.
It's a remote viewing.
The government worked on training people to see if they could,
The Goats movie. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Men that speak to goats. And that's what it is. It's all studied with Duke University. You're still tethered to your body. You're sending your energy to connect to theirs. And anytime we meet someone in life, we have a connection to them now. So like I met you, there's going to be a tether. I'll be able to tether to you. If, same thing. Anybody I've ever dated in my life, any best friends I've ever had that we had falling outs, there's the tether. So you have to go through and physically and mentally cut those cords. Just like you got to let it go.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're still connected. So, she probably saw a projection of this girl or this living person. She saw the projection of them, their energy, but they were still in their body. They were able to just travel. And that's how that's mother's intuition. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
We're tethered to our children. Right, I don't know how many times I've called up and said, hey, you need to stop, or even when I was in college, I called my best friend and I was like telling her everything. And she's like, what the heck is going on? I'm like, this is what you're doing and you need to stop. But it's like I connected to her from California to Texas.
Do you think everybody has that ability to do that, or is this something?
Everybody has the ability.
So it's not like it's not so much a gift, but it's something you can actually learn to do.
Yeah, everybody has different levels.
Garrett always asks me, or we talk about that.
Yeah.
Like even being like he's asked, we've had psychics on before, and he always asks, is this something I can learn, or is this a gift you have? And
I teach psychic development. This is what I always tell people. Everybody is born with an ability. Everybody is born with psychic ability. But it's like any other muscle in your body. If you don't work it, it's going to be weak.
Right.
If you work it, it's going to get stronger. And I tell people when they come to the psychic development classes, you need to be ready because the stuff you've buried is going to come forth. You can't move on into that level of energy work without facing things you thought you fixed.
For sure.
Wow.
All of that's going to come back to the surface. You're going to have to go through all that trauma again. You got to work through it to make it to that next level. So anybody could do it. And then some are stronger in other areas. My empath is my strong thing. I can go and touch an object and it's like movies that play in my head. I can see stuff. But everybody, anybody can pick up a pencil and draw. But
not very well.
But. Right.
But that's what I'm saying. Certain people pick up a pencil and it's like dead on miraculously beautiful.
And others it's like work really hard at it. Or other people work really hard at it and learn how to do it. Right.
That's something I've been able to do is I can walk in a place and tell if there's negative energy there.
Right. That's your impact.
I realized that when I was about 15 or 16. I don't know if you remember a store on Northwest 10th called Lady Ann's Oddities. It was kind of a psychic store. It's right next to the Red Dog Saloon. So,
okay. Yeah.
And
well, that right there is your area.
Yeah. Well, and they carried a lot of satanic kind of stuff in there, just weird stuff. And one of my buddies wanted to go in there, and I walked in, and it was like I was walking through tar, and I got this. I had to leave. I couldn't stay in it, and they went ahead and stayed around and browsed around. I was like, dude, I can't be in here. And I just left and sat in the car.
Well, it's like that when people walk into my shop. It's like they'll come in and I'll be like, oh, how are you doing? They're like, I'm okay now.
Yeah, and I encourage
whatever energy you put out. Yeah.
Any of my local people, I encourage you to go to her shop. It's awesome. I mean, if you have any problems with ghosts or just want to have good vibes going around your house, apartment, whatever, she sells all. Can you give the location of your store?
It's in Mustang, so it's right off 152 and Mustang Road next to the pet store.
Yeah, it's awesome.
The Ravens Gate. I'm working on a whole bunch of new stuff right now. I am getting ready to bring in some deity stuff that I'm working on. With my religion, of course, I'm still Christian background, so I focus on that, but I'm trying to also help with, whatever anybody else's religion is. I don't bring the dark in, though. I don't allow the dark.
But you said you do have some things locked up in there.
Yeah, I have haunted objects. Okay. We use those actually in our psychic development class too. Now I don't bring the bad ones out, the ones that have caused fires in people's houses.
That would be good.
But I do have some because part of what we do with psychic development is what's called psychometry, and that's where you touch the object and you get readings off of it. That's actually strengthening your third eye and working that muscle, so to speak.
So you kind of got a little Johnny Zaffis thing going there with like all his haunted stuff that he has.
Not as much as Johnny does. I do have a twin doll that Johnny got. Somebody gifted him. We got the dolls at the same time. I have one. He has the other, and they're identical.
Whoa, cool.
Yeah. Wow. Another question from Mona.
She meant empath.
Yeah. Empathy.
Does an empath?
You go ahead and read.
No, she can. Yeah.
At the point, it becomes overwhelming. Honestly, I think your empath is sensitive throughout your entire life. Sometimes we shut that off, and we have the ability. With mine, I can do it like a light switch. I can shut it off and on. When I go to work, it goes off unless I feel the need to come back on. Otherwise, I would be going just absolutely crazy. If I go to like the fair or anything like that, the energy's overwhelming.
Oh my God, that must drive you insane.
Yeah, so you have to learn to block and shield it. When you're tired, anything like that, your shield is down. So you have to learn how to continue to do that. Now, as you get older, you might be getting more sensitive, but then again, you think about what we talked about, the Big Bang Theory, it's forcing eyes open when people didn't want them open. People that never really wanted it have no choice anymore.
Right.
It's forcing it on you because it's waking you up. It's literally a big awakening.
Very cool. Do you have any more questions?
No, this has been fascinating. Have you heard me breathing really deeply over here during the?
Well, you breathe heavy in the microphone.
I know, but
I remember we used to do podcasts.
Dude.
It's like Bigfoot. Oh, that's another question. Bigfoot. He's fascinated by Bigfoot, which I am as well. What is this thing? Is this a real thing?
Bigfoot, when we talk about Bigfoots, of course, we go into the cryptids. And we have so many different types of cryptids. It's another class I teach. Okay, she's going to just, right there. Okay. Honestly, my personal theory on that, I think he's interterrestrial. I think he's coming through.
I do too. That's what we thought too. Have you heard that one story where these people spotted a UFO? They lived out in the country and they saw a UFO. The UFO disappears, and then they said about 15 minutes later, that's when they saw like a Bigfoot creature come out of the woods by their home, and so they were relating that to maybe it is. And
I don't even so much even think they're coming on UFOs. I think they're coming through dimensional portals.
That's yeah.
I think they're coming through, and that's how.
And UFOs could be the same, couldn't they? I mean, they could be.
Anything should be able to come through.
Right.
I mean, it's the same thing with hauntings. I think that's why we have certain hauntings. I think it's just the parallel planes hitting each other, and for a second they cross.
Yes.
So we can see, a spirit that might be over here that we think is just a ghost is actually probably another living human on this other parallel.
For sure.
Yes, and
crossing.
The show Ghost Hunters, are you good with that one?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, one of the most interesting shows I ever saw, and I'm sure you've seen this one too, is they were investigating this old hotel, I think, and this lady, very like almost royalty, lived in a certain room, and I can't remember what her name was, but we'll just say Minnie. And they said, "Minnie, are you here?" And the voice comes back and it says, "Yes, of course I'm here." And she goes, "I can hear you, but I can't see you." So that was, to me, it was almost like, wow, man, they just almost crossed. That was like that was going on at the same time. That's
the movie The Others. That's the best example of that. The Others with Nicole Kidman.
I haven't seen that one.
You got to watch that one. That explains a lot about different parallels.
Yeah.
To where, some are thinking they're alive. They're not realizing they're not, kind of,
Right. That was just so fascinating to me because she was answering them in real time, and it's like she was trying to see them, and she's like, "Well, where are you? I hear your voice."
She's seeing a ghost. You're seeing a ghost.
They're both, they're both exactly. That's
You're
exactly
experiencing each other as a ghost. Is literally what it is.
That is so insane.
Well, Tanya, thank you so much for coming on tonight. This has been a real treat for us and my viewers as well. This has been a great show. And again, you guys go visit her store, and she has a Facebook, and the store is awesome. Like I said, you got to go out. If you're any local people that are watching, just go check it out.
I'm going to swing by.
Yeah.
I'm working on the new Halloween candle. So I've got some Michael Myers getting ready to come out, and some Freddy's coming out. I'm working on so much stuff. It's just cool. So
that's awesome.
We'll have you back on.
All right.
Tanya, thank you so much for coming on tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
You too. Bye.
She was awesome.
Yeah, that was really cool. That was cool.
Really educational.
Let's see. Make sure if you want. Okay. Anyway.
Wow.
That was fun.
That was cool, man.
It was nice to get back to the paranormal a little bit. I mean, NDE is kind of a paranormal thing, but it kind of is and kind of isn't.
Yeah. But I mean,
I think
I like though that, some of the stuff you hear in these paranormal conversations, like also you hear like in NDE stuff, and it's just it kind of intermingles sometimes the parallel universes, the planes. I mean, she talks about it all. Aliens.
Yeah, that
all of it.
That one Ghost Hunters episode that I saw.
That is fascinating.
Yeah, that blew me away. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's cool.
It was like exactly what you said. It was a ghost to her
as
it was a ghost to them.
Yeah.
So yeah, our camera is really. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hook up for next week, you guys. I'm hoping it's the camera and nothing with the computer because that would suck. And I got like Gigablast is what it's called. It's like the fastest internet you can get. So it's got to be the camera. So I'm going to switch out cameras. I've got the one we used to use, which is a good camera.
Yeah.
And we bought the 2 because we were putting Pamela on, but I think she's retired.
Pamela's retired.
She's retired.
Busy.
She works so much. And she's like, the head of her position. So she's constantly on the phone and she's having to, and we see her walk out of here 5 times before because of something that works going on and she has to take care of it. So it's hard for her to do this. And, with the amount we can handle this. Anyway.
We'll do a little reunion with Pamela during our Halloween episode.
Yeah.
Great stuff, dude.
That was good. All right, you guys.
On a roll with the guest.
Yes, that was good. So I'm leaving it to Garrett. He's going to find us a guest.
It's going to be great.
So it's going to be a surprise for me too, because
I got you.
Yeah, Garrett's got this one. So anyway, we love you guys. Yes, thank you so much for taking your Wednesday night.
Mona.
And Mona, thanks for showing up. We thought you were mad.
Bobby.
We thought you were mad at us or something.
Thank you, Bobby.
Bobby, super sticker. Appreciate it, buddy. Right at the last. Whoop. All right.
Good night, guys.
Good night, guys. Love you. Thank you so much. And we will see you next week. Bye-bye.